Now, Amnesty International has urged the president to make sure that human rights remain a priority during the COVID-19 pandemic. The organization is concerned that basic rights are not being given the attention and resources required. Well, research Amnesty International last year found an erosion of access to quality education, water and protection against violence. Let's chat some more about this now and about whether the president's address has met expectations on this front. We're chatting to Jennifer Welch, who's a campaigner at Amnesty International. Jennifer, good morning and thanks so much for your time. So in your statement before the State of the Nation address, Amnesty International saying human rights must not become a casualty of the government's COVID-19 response. From what we heard last night, has the president sort of given you any kind of hope? Has he maybe lived up a little to the expectation that he would deal with this issue, that he recognizes it? What are your thoughts?
To be quite frank with you, and thanks for having me, no. We're actually deeply concerned, really, at hearing the State of the Nation address last night. We're concerned that the government has given or shown no real plans as to how he's going to address issues of human rights in areas that were previously struggling prior to the pandemic, such as you said, in areas like education, tackling GBV, water, health, the climate. Whilst we absolutely acknowledge the need to respond to the health emergency and prioritize access to vaccines, the president gave no guarantee as to how he's going to address issues like education that are so imperative. And you know, his speech was a lot of promises, but not a lot of plans. He spoke a lot about building new, but what about fixing what we already have? You know, he talked a lot about these kind of smart technologies and enterprising ideas when you have schools that don't even have access to internet or data connection.
So Jennifer, let's be a little more specific about what you actually would have liked to hear from him. Specifically, what did you want him to say about those particular challenges that we find millions facing now?
Sure. So first of all, there was basically no mention of education at all. This is such an important area that needs immediate attention paid to it. We know that the pandemic has caused significant disparities between public and private, as a lot of the public schools were not able to access remote learning. We also know that at least half of South Africans were not able to practice social distancing in classrooms due to overcrowding. We have heard about issues of PPE, pit toilets still being used in schools, and we already had a teacher crisis, and at the end of January 2021, nearly 2,000 teachers have died of COVID-19. So there was no mention of this. There was no kind of mention of what plans or is he going to put in place to address the failing infrastructure, the significant issues, disparities that we see in schools. And what's more is that we know that they diverted over 2 billion rand from the education infrastructure grants last year. And we've seen that they have no plans to increase the education budget over the next 3 years. So that's what was missing. First of all, an acknowledgement of the state of education in our country and a concrete action plan as to how they're going to remedy these situations, because it just frankly cannot continue.
Well, Jennifer, your other concern was gender-based violence. He made mention of some plans and sort of measures that will be put in place to deal with this and reduce it. But do you feel that was enough? Are you encouraged maybe by that, by what the president had to say about gender-based violence?
Yeah, so he mentioned the establishment of the GBV Response Fund, which is a welcome development, absolutely. He also talked about promising 12 billion over the next 3 years to the implementation of the National Strategic Plan, which is great and very encouraging to see. Again, these are promises, and we really do hope to see the implementation of them because, as we know, gender-based violence is just an absolutely awful issue in our country. We know, and what I want to see is specific acknowledgement and plans on investigation into cases of gender-based violence and femicide and the prosecution of these crimes, because we know that only 8.6% of rape cases in South Africa end in a conviction. Last year, the SAPS recorded an average of 116 cases of rape a day, and those are only the cases that are being reported, and we know so many go underreported for fear of further harassment, further assault from police themselves. So there were some welcome plans. As with it all, these are just plans at the moment, and so we really do hope to see proper implementation of these plans. I do acknowledge the attention that is being paid in these kind of speeches to the issue, but it's also in South Africa what we found a hearts and minds issue about something in our society that needs to shift as well. We know that 1 in 3 men in South Africa still hold the belief that women do not deserve equal rights, which is just such an issue at its core. So we've still got a long way to go.